All right, people. I'm sorry. Oop, we got to change everything. Nate must have been using it. He still had his thing up. All right. I apologize. I'm 5 minutes late, and so I'm gonna look at the comments, and then we're gonna get into this. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start with this. Peter, good to see you. Seeing genuine. I don't know if I know who your actual name is. Waves, what up? Yarsberg, and Yoav. Good to see you, my friend. The reason I'm late is because I got distracted. Because I was sending a message. Trip Parker and I were having a little back and forth about masculinity, femininity, how to talk to women. And again, this is all going to be related because, also, yeah, listen. Lucas Voss sometimes gets mad at me because I don't do the meow meow. He messaged on me, you can't please everyone. I'll say stuff like that and people will be like, you're a man, that's ridiculous. Have some self-respect. And then I don't do it and Lucas wants me to. So, what are you going to do? But it's actually kind of related. So I'm going to do a little brief intro about this, which it will finally connect to what is truly valuable, but it's also going to be a communication. It's going to be a little short thing on communication, men and women, and I guess it's value. I mean, value. How do you get a higher topic than value? What is value not related to? I mean, yeah, truly valuable in what sense? Exactly, but we're going to get into that. So one of the things that I put, so to answer your question, what is truly valuable, then we'll talk about the men and women communication thing, and then I'll go into some of the bigger mosaic of what I wanting to talk about is what is really valuable, how does that relate to communication. It's all going to work because when I talk about anything, I'm talking about everything because everything's connected. We're doing high-level metacognition pattern recognition. So I think one of the main inspirations for this live stream was do I still have it pulled up? Because I put all this in the description below. I try to some of the videos that I've been watching and YouTube videos and stuff that are all connected to my vision. I put down in the videos, or I put down below. So let me see. History. I gotta pull up because I don't know how to say her name. So I was listening to Priyanka Chopra Jonas, who's an actress. She's like an Indian American. I think she's American, but ethnically Indian actress. I don't know what all shows she was in, but she's in a new movie. Let me see. I'm gonna click on it. I don't need your ad. So this is here. I'll share the screen. This is one of the main things that's inspired this. But she said in here she was in The Bluff. She stars in Ongoing Cities, Citadel, and The Bluff, both streaming on Prime. Former Miss World, yeah, she's a babe, and she's married to Nick Jonas, the most famous of the Jonas Brothers. I like Nick Jonas. Fantastic dresser. But anyhow, Rogan saw one of her shows or something and was a big fan where she plays, apparently she's like sword fighting, and oh, nice. Look at that, a lady. Who would have thought you were a lady? Because YouTube's such a male space, and typically, I think in my metrics, most of the watchers are dudes. Anyhow, nice to meet you. So she's on Rogan because she's plays and he was amazed at how violent the movie is, but she does a lot of sword fighting. She plays a pirate in some film. Anyhow, she was talking about the California wildfires, like the fires of, what was that, a few years ago, and the question came up because she was talking with her husband, and they were like, we might have to just evacuate, just get out of here, escape the fires. And so then it's like, okay, they're both they're both like Hollywood. I mean, he's a musician, but like wealthy celebrities, huge mansion. You have all this stuff, right? I'm guessing because they're out. Because I'm guessing all those places. Was it Palisade fires or whatever? But then like there's fires are gonna burn down your house. What are you gonna take? What is valuable? You have a bag. You just throw some stuff in a bag. Get out of there. What do you take? Man, that's you want to like whittle it down to what is really valuable. Okay, I gotta close that. Distracting myself with the group chat. The trip also, you're not gonna watch this probably, but if you were gonna watch this, Trip just sent me a couple audios that are some of my favorite audios related to men and women stuff. So we're gonna talk about that. So like what is most valuable? So she said when she was leaving, she's like she took like a bit of her child's hair, like probably a first cutting of the child's hair, and then like an old video maybe of a movie or a film or something. She's an actress, something that's really valuable to her that maybe doesn't exist anywhere else. So like it maybe doesn't exist digitally, so it's a hard copy, physical thing of a film. Here's the thing, and I had this just realization, but like non-fungible, right? Irreplaceable. What is really valuable to you? It made me even think of Marie Kondo, who's like she used to be a minimalist, but then she had kids and she kind of changed. But her whole shtick was like to help you clean out your closet and dress. A lot of it was related to clothes, how to dress, like get rid of a bunch of clothes that you don't need and you don't really like, and just keep the things. But Marie Kondo's thing was always like, what was her term? Like what sparks? There's all these images. What sparks value to you? I mean, it's value, but like what lights you up? What gives you joy? You know, for your clothes. If you go through your closet and you have a bunch of clothes, this maybe won't resonate with people who don't like clothes. It does for me. But like there are some clothes where I'm just like, that's a shirt. Like it doesn't matter. I could wear I don't know, it's a blue shirt. It's boring. It's like PVK. Like he throws on a blue shirt. It's very practical. It's like it's Steve Jobs. It's just a uniform. Does this shirt matter to me? No. It's like I wear the same thing every day. It's a uniform. It has no value to me. It's easily replaceable. You know, a home, replaceable. Well, a home's a little bit different because like, is a home replaceable? Somewhat, but like this is why I put in the comments, Rupert Sheldrake has a conversation on holy places and sacred places, and it's very good. But it's one of those things of like, what makes a home valuable? This is part of why I don't like a lot of modern architecture or modern building, because it's cheap, it's boring, it's fast, it's efficient, but there's like it's not a holy place. It has no value. It's easily replaceable. It's like a modular rebuild factory home. Like a trailer house is like the most clear example of that. It's as inexpensive, cheap, quick to build, easily replicatable, easily replaceable. But then it becomes that you're moving further and further degrees from being non-fungible, like irreplaceable, truly unique, one of one. And like, and I would go up just to go to the highest, like a human being is one of the most non-fungible things in the world. Completely, we almost say their value is so high it's invaluable, right? Like it's without value, uncomparable, of infinite value, because they're one of one. They're irreplaceable, a human being. So okay, I'm just gonna drop the trip thing. I'm not going back to that. Also, prayers for Chezi and Yoav. Too many missiles in Israel. Stay safe, obviously. Okay, so here we go. In my view, if we were going to use a phrase like truly valuable, we should be able to answer a question like, what's the difference between valuable and true valuable? What work is truly doing? Yeah, absolutely. So like I think most people use the term valuable to use like money, like a simple money thing. And that works a little bit, like you can put a price on something, but it doesn't work well enough, because when you get to the kinds of things that I say are truly valuable, they are simultaneously invaluable because you can't put a price on it. Like what's the value of the Mona Lisa? You can't, I mean, you can't put a price on it really, because you can't buy it. Like the stuff that's truly valuable, you won't sell. You're like, no amount of money would make me sell that, because it's not like my children. Like, how much money would you pay me for me to sell you my children? I mean, you can't really legally, but it's like no amount of money. None. Impossible. A true work of art is something that's invaluable. You know, like even what was that in Notre Dame or whatever? Didn't it burn down or whatever? And then they fixed it, and I mean, it cost tons of money. But even like they fixed it and they tried to get it exactly right, but like it's not exactly the same. It's invaluable. It seems like the more valued in the spiritual lasting sense, the more likely it can be rejectable. Not for everything and everyone. I mean, I think part of that's true. There are some, I mean, there are things that I think we have collective value on. Like, or you could think of like the Declaration of Independence, the original Declaration of Independence. How valuable is that? Infinitely? Like, it's just, there's no value, but it's not, but here's the thing, it's not infinitely valuable, because like if it went away, like, it's not the end of the world. America's not going to exist forever. Even the Declaration of Independence, it's somewhat of a sacred object because of the collective importance that it holds for America and history and all that kind of stuff. But it's like not, it's not the same thing as like a human being, I guess. So, all right, what else do I want to talk about? Oh, this is another. So this is another facet that I want to talk about with this, and it's tied into it. I mean, it's not exactly the same thing as communication, and sorry, this is a little bit jumbled about how to bridge the gap here, but I was wanting to talk about communication, and this is back to what I was saying, the back and forth with Tripp and on communicating. We were talking about communicating between men and women, and especially on what men and women find valuable in each other. But it's like a what is the best way? Like, what is the best way to communicate? And this is something I've been having a conversation back and forth with Nick Free Rillian a little bit about. But I was going to pull up this message that he sent me. So, it begs the question a little bit of like, what is understanding? And to what degree are you ever really understanding someone, how to best communicate with them? And what is really happening when we communicate with someone else? Are we just merely conveying information, or are we resonating with each other in a way that is deeper than the mere conveyance of information? It's more about seeing and being seen. It's just like, I see you. I value you. I think that you are important. I am expressing like there's some deep level of affinity or solidarity or communion that's happening, because that's probably deeper, right? Communication is this idea of like, how is communication different than communion? I mean, that's a question. I would say communion is more fundamental than communication, but communication is connected to communion somehow. I don't know how to even think about that, but because, and I've man, I think I've just seen this so much more clearly too. There was one of these things that I wanted to point out. What was it in? It was in one of these videos, but I think that it's sorry, and I do that teeth thing. I think that there's something that I wrote all this down, and I thought my thoughts were more clear on this, but Oh, so this is part of it. And this is one of my struggles is, like I spoke about my buddy Nick, this local guy who sent me a message a while ago. So here's two things. Here's a little story. I don't know what that is, Mitch, but thank you for being here. Who he sent me this message and he was like, Luke, I want to tell you, I had this just moment of clarity and I wanted to communicate this to you just out of transparency and honesty that I have no idea what you're talking about ever. And he's like, sometimes I trick myself into thinking that I do, but I really don't know what you're talking about. Which I shared with my wife and some other close friends, and they all laugh at that because that's very common. Much to Claire's, I don't know if Claire is here, but much to Claire's chagrin, I'm not, I wish people would just say what they think and be clear and just lay out the ground rules. And I'm often of the mind that I'm like, well, it's not that simple. Because very often when you do that, you think you're being clear and just laying things out clearly, and it's anything but that. And so that was a funny thing. And then Job, PVK, had his instead of his Friday live stream, he did that conversation with Job, who is the original. He is the OG of the OGs. Job is the original rando of the TLC. I don't even know if that's debatable. Who would even debate that? I think it's true. Job is the original. And then things kind of coalesced around Job because Job reached out. I mean, other people were reaching out. I think Julian was around back then. I can't even remember. You can go back in PVK's catalog. But I think Job reached out, was having conversations. My story is like, then Jeff reached out. I reached out because of Jeff. That's how I got involved. And so Job was way, way far back there. But anyhow, so then there's this Job's involvement in the corner has been very, it was early YouTube. And then he reached out to Paul. And then we started having all our conversations on Zoom. And then there was the Bridges of Meaning Discord, where Job was very active, both in text and voice chats. And he started randoing people, getting people's stories on the Bridges of Meaning Discord in an audio only format. Excuse me. But then Job started having kids, started going to church, became a Christian, and then he's still on Discord a little bit, but then his participation waned, and the spirit of the TLC moved back to YouTube primarily, and live streams and just chattings, where I think it is now, and it may move again. But Job, so then on Bridges of Meaning, there's been this group chat. I don't even know what it's called anymore. That's been around forever. I wish I could know what year it was even created. This is the original inner ring. I think it's called Back to the Baby Factory. It's had many iterations, but it was Baby Factory, whatever. Because then there are people who are in it who are a lot of the OGs who Sam got in it because Sam was the last of the first wave, but Julian's in there, Sherry's in there, Jeff, Andreas, who's not around anymore, Dave W, just people that have been around a long time, Job, Shelly, who pops into live streams occasionally. But then Shelly, Shelly got married, Shelly and Nathan, they're having babies. Job got married and is having babies. So then he doesn't, so Job's not around. Job's not doing this. He's not popping into live streams. But then that group chat got kicked off again because it occasionally, like, there'll be a burst and then it'll be silent for a long time. But now on Discord, you can send audio messages. So boom, I don't do the text stuff that much because it's hard for me to keep up with. So I sent an audio message and Job replied. What did Job say? This is all the point of like communication and clear communication. What did Job say? Let's go find it. And this is it. This is like what usually happens. I feel like I've gotten a lot of these messages. This is essentially the same thing that Nick said, but like, I love you, Luke, but this was hard to follow. I did read Notes from a Tilt-A-Whirl because that's I just bought 3 of them because my son said he would read it, and that's a big book in my formation. It's probably clearer than me, but it's kind of how my brain works, circling big, circling in small. About 5 times, actually, and I did read Loris too, got about halfway and then lost interest when it shifted to the modern world. So essentially he was saying, like, it makes no sense to me. And then I forwarded also that same audio from that local buddy, Nick, and Job was like 100%. Yeah, you don't make any sense to me. So like, I want to bring in a bunch of pieces, and I think this will tie back into value. It might not. It might just be into like communication and clarity. And I'll maybe send this to Womboy and force her to listen to this, and I would like to have a recurrent thing, and I might have to just for my own simplicity's sake, instead of just continually talking to new randos. I'll do that occasionally, but I might just have to have recurrent guests. And maybe it'll be just like to Matt C and Womboy. Maybe we'll do that. But so I've said this recently that I watched A Dinner with Andre, which EZRA of EZRA and Grimm fame reached out to me and said that he also, I finished A Dinner with Andre the same night that he watched it. And so it's one of those things that pops up, all of a sudden there's these weird resonances and there's these weird serendipities where it's just like, Womboy tells me to watch A Dinner with Andre. I was talking with Risto the other day about also Loris, fantastic. God, that book is good. But and Ezra said to me, he's just like, is there anything, he emailed me and he said, is there a movie that is more TLC than A Dinner with Andre? And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of up there. And it's one of those movies you could talk about it forever because it's just a conversation about 2 people over dinner, basically. There's an intro and an outro, I guess. There's like the guy, one of the characters walking there and his inner monologue, and then there's the dialogue that they have at dinner. I think that's mainly it. But it's considered to be a very philosophical film. It asks questions. It's very about like, what is communication? What is proper communication? Why are people saying the things that they're saying? I was trying to convey the movie and talk about what it's about to my wife, because that's the thing. Something that's very good, this gets at the non-fungibility thing and Christ the eternal Tao, because when something becomes, again, so valuable, it's simultaneously invaluable because you can't put a money on it. It's too valuable. When something becomes infinitely valuable, it also is, you can also say then it's invaluable. Yes! Oh yeah, I'm glad you're here. Because I think, whatever, I think you'll understand this and we're just going to have to talk again. So like, this is also why I say when I talk about anything, I'm talking about everything. Another reason I'm confusing is like what Womboy said at the end of our conversation is like, I'm a weird shaman that like maybe my role in life is to hold space for people in a way where like they find it valuable. And for some reason they are here, either they find it entertaining or whatever, but they're also like simultaneously they say, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I like listening to you. What the hell does that mean? It means something. And what's going on there? Why is that compelling? Why do you come? If you don't know what someone's talking about, but you want to listen to them, why? I don't know. I mean, it's wild. So we have valuable and invaluable. I'm feeling like I'm getting in my groove. I'm like Stella getting her groove back. I'm starting to get some flow. Here we go. I'm like, what's his name? Chariots of Fire, right? When I run, I feel God's pleasure. When I stream and get in the flow and start riffing, I feel God's pleasure. Because I think what I really do, what I really want, this is good for me in some ways, is I want to awaken meaning in people. I want people to realize, I want the kind of things that Dinner with Andre is trying to do. Because a lot of what Dinner with Andre is they're talking about, why do people say the things that they say? Why are we often, it gets at like small talk a little bit. And like, why do people often say the thing, they're often not saying the thing that they want to say, and it's Romans 7, and the thing they don't want to say that they find themselves continually saying, which is what I find a lot of small talk to be. Although I've come around to understanding small talk as it's like a board game. It's like a means of getting to more substantive things. It's a space, it's a comfortable space for people, for hopefully something more meaningful to emerge. And everything is a gift if you receive it as a gift. So I try to accept the gift of small talk, even though I don't really enjoy it. But, you know, if that's what people need, and that's where the only place to meet them, then it's good, because meeting people is good. But it also, A Dinner with Andre also made me think of the book Paralandra, where the Green Lady, I often talk about the Green Lady. It's a book that's really shaped the way that I think about stuff. And there's a scene when the Ransom trilogy, he is first talking with her, and there's like an uncomfortable silence. And then so Ransom, who's from Earth, the silent planet, Thulkandra, however you say it, a place where also human beings are under the spirit of the archon of the earth, which is Satan, and they're fallen. Their consciousness is fallen, but he's talking to the Green Lady, who is pre-fallen. She is just the seed of perfection, and who hasn't been corrupted. That's probably the best way to talk about the Green Lady, because she's not perfected. So she's good. She's humanity. She's the creation of humanity in the garden, which is good, but not perfect, which completely makes sense with a Christian eschatology, I think. Saying small talk is bad is an ice cold take. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's redemptive. Like you're the one, Alan, you're the one who planted seeds of redeeming small talk to me. But then, so back to Paralandra. So Ransom is there, and there's silence, and he doesn't know what to say, and then he's uncomfortable in the silence, which is interesting, right? Which is very Dinner with Andre. It's the kind of stuff that they're talking about. There's not a lot of silence in A Dinner with Andre. They're talking the whole time, but the spirit of what I'm about to say about Paralandra is very in line with and in harmony with A Dinner with Andre. And so Ransom doesn't know what to say. There's a silence. I think this is what's going on in it. And so then he starts talking. He starts saying something, to which the Green Lady, immediately perceptive in a way, which a lot of us have become numb to this, of like when you fill the silence. And she says, why did you do that? She says, like, why did you didn't have anything to say, but then you made up words anyhow and said things that you didn't really want to say or have to say, but you said them anyhow. And she's like, why? And I'm just like, Lewis is so brilliant about this, because he awakened me out of my slumber, I guess, of just realizing that like what's going on there and the dynamics and the thing behind the thing. And Lewis just does that through the story. And then Ransom goes on to say, he's just like, oh, and then he explains really where it came from a pure way. He doesn't lie, but he says, like, we didn't have anything to say, and I was uncomfortable with that. And so then I just said something. She's like, oh, on your planet, you are such a creature where you can pacify your discomfort by making up words with no meaning and saying them to pacify your discomfort. She's like, oh, you're making me grow so much. And like, she just had this epiphany of the kind of humanity that Ransom was, because for her, she's just like, if I don't have anything to say, she wasn't uncomfortable in the silence because she wasn't fallen. So she was just like, okay, we're doing silence now. And so she was just comfortable in the silence, which most human beings, fallen humanity, we're not okay with silence, which is why we need to exercise the discipline of silence or meditation or whatever, or prayer, even contemplative prayer, perhaps, or something like that, because it's because that makes you that discomfort is missing the mark. It's like it's sin in a simple way. And you need to sometimes place yourself in an environment where you can feel that discomfort, so that you can then become an overcomer and transcend that discomfort, you know, in the same way that you could become strong by placing yourself under the discomfort of exercising or running or fasting or whatever, anything that's hard. I do not know that film, but I mean, we'll take down a note. These are the kinds of movies that I can't really watch with my family, though, because maybe. Although my son was saying A Dinner with Andre, for some reason, apart from me, again, serendipity, synchronicities, was a movie that he wanted to watch, which is interesting. Small talk isn't necessarily bad. Many people just really confuse that with proper communication, communion even. And a lot of people have never had a real conversation in their lives, and it's sad. That's a lot of what Dinner with Andre is about, is everything is a gift if you receive it as a gift. So if small talk is used as a gift toward communion, it is good. So this is probably the communion thing. If you use communication and it becomes mammon, and then you actually don't have communion because you're using it to pacify your discomfort, then you're missing the mark and it's bad. So that's when small talk is bad. When small talk is good and it's a means of communing with someone, of not hiding from them in your discomfort, of not using language to hide, because this is the thing. You can say words this is veiling and unveiling. This is revelation. This is all of language. It's all of creation, really, is like you can use words. And this is God and mammon. You can use words to confuse and to obstruct and to hide, but you can also use words to unveil and reveal and awaken and renew. How are you using the words? The adverbial. And temperament's a huge part of that, right? I don't like small talk. It is, if I am engaging in small talk with you, not 100% of the time, but most of the time, it's kenotic. It is self-emptying. I don't want to do it. I don't like it. I don't give a shit about the weather. I don't want to talk about it. I don't care about sports, really. I do. I mean, I played sports and I get all that, but like, I hate talking about sports as a means of not talking about deeper things. No, it's not all meaningless talk. It's that I can't communicate. See this, and this is the problem, is like, if I knew how to communicate more clearly, I would do it. Small talk is good when it is a means to communion. When it is a means of hiding yourself and your discomfort, and it is a means of like hiding yourself away and veiling yourself from the other so that you cannot be seen and see and be seen, then it is bad. But here's the thing, is like, love also means that we cannot insist on our own way. And so my own way is I don't want to small talk. But I live in Minnesota and in a world where many, many people like to small talk, including many people in my family. What do I do then? I don't insist on my own way. Because if I insist on my own way, I have not love, 1 Corinthians 13, and I am nothing. This is probably where some of my non-talking talking come. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am nothing. I'm merely a gong or a clashing cymbal. Sound without meaning. Words without meaning. Like, there's no point. It's non-talking talking. There's no point in talking if you're not trying to commune with people. Because communion is being. Communion as being. Okay, let's move on. And this is part of my struggle with, I haven't even gotten to the Nick thing. I'll just read some of my notes, and then I'll read the Nick thing, and then I'll open this up, because I've already been talking 34 minutes. I feel like I was fumbling for a while, but then I found my groove. I think part of the myth of objectivism, modernity, the age that we live in, and I think we've moved past this, is like the urban monoculture, secularism, is there liberalism, whatever, all of that. There's a myth that words, again, the TED-S lecture, God, I just mention it all the time. Maybe I'll just have to do videos where I just go through it. But the TEDx lecture, Arkansas Convivium, I did not put this. It's in one of my recent videos in the description, but you can also probably just find it. Just type in Arkansas Convivium. It'll be the only thing that shows up probably. And then there'll be a bunch of lectures. One of them is the TEDx one on Inscapes and the Gerard Manley Hopkins poem. And that gets at how language functions. And it's very much like the George MacDonald imagination essay. Those are my Mount Rushmores of YouTube videos of meaning. So, all right. So, but all of that, liberalism, language, we're not conveying meanings. The words and definitions are not static things that then convey meaning. Meaning is much more, meaning is operating at this high level that's like the Mona Lisa, where valuable and invaluable are the same thing. That's also like the Tao, order and chaos. Like order and there's a unitive oneness behind order and chaos, which is the Tao, which is why they say things like the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. And then in Christianity, this is what I call, Jordan Daniel Wood calls Christologic, which is not mere binary logic of either or like A equals A. It's the identity of identity and non-identity. And I know that just seems like word salad nonsense to anything, but it's communicating this idea that when you get to the highest level possible, two become one. There's a unity behind any distinction, which is the same thing that Nate was talking about with the Silver Age Russians that are talking about like an antimony, not an opposite, a seeming opposite, an antimony, a resonance field, perhaps. Rupert Sheldrake, holy places, is when two seemingly opposite things have a unitive oneness behind them. This is getting very close at an abstract level to Christology, Trinitarian theology, the nature of the God-man relation, which you can talk about abstractly like the Tao, but then I say is a person. And the fullness of a human being, which is where being and becoming are one, in an instantiated person that is also infinitely valuable, which is the personal and personalist knowing. But like the opposite of that is like, and personalist knowing is fundamentally connected to what do you mean about that? What do I mean? Not what is the fucking Oxford Dictionary definition. Because yeah, we can look at that and that's something that we can both point to and play with and work with. But like definitions are not static things. There's an ontological presupposition in that about language, which is, in my opinion, wrong. Because there aren't static objects. My fundamental worldview is that the world exists in antimonies, which are relations, because that's what an antimony is a relation. This and that, the Tao, order and chaos. What is the relationship between order and chaos? The Tao. And it's not exactly order and chaos, but like it's something, it's a person is an antimony, but an antimony that you can know in its infinite fecundity and wonder. Because just like value and invaluable are the same, a human being is the same, order and chaos, heaven and earth, the dust of earth and the breath of heaven, the two become one in a person. And then that person, the seed of that person, like the Green Lady in Perelandra, in its becoming is perfected through its self-emptying, kenotic, living sacrifice life until its fullness is reached in its voluntary death. And then the completion of the creation of man, all it ever was a seed until Jesus Christ. This is my Christian conviction. And it says, behold the human being, the first human being, the first fully created human being, Jesus Christ crucified. All right. Now we're going to circle back to communication. I'll probably play some branding. I'll just finish getting through my notes. I have to fulfill on the Nick thing. So we have this assumption. I think the assumption that you can communicate merely through definitions and language and words in a way that is like one-to-one conveyance of language, again, is philosophically wrong. And I think it's stemming from tacit, unconscious assumptions of modernity and propositional tyranny. I wouldn't be ashamed, but I probably wouldn't like it. Sometimes I do re-listen to my stuff and it makes sense to me. And oh, there was one, PVK made a clip on his Vanderclips channel about it was a Chris Howard morning stream with Ethan Cawhey, and they came on there and they were talking about initiation. Olson came in and they were mentioning, you know, Ethan's going back to church. They were talking about their church background. Chris Howard is now going to like a Presbyterian church at his wife's encouragement. Ethan is now, instead of at a mega church, Big Eva mega church, he is now at like an Anglican type church. And Olson was saying that he's at kind of a non-denominational church, but is becoming more liturgical, orthodox. He always has sermons or whatever up where he has an icon up. So like churches are increasingly becoming more like liturgical, ancient. They are integrating that kind of stuff. But then this gets into like, this is a broader question that I have too, is like, what are the proper mediums and spaces that promote certain kinds of initiation that then lead to proper ways of understanding? So like Claire is here for sure. She has like very particular ideas and opinions about what is the proper way of communicating. She has very particular opinions about modes of initiation, of how you should cultivate a space and carry a conversation that is the best means of communicating ideas so that then we can live towards whatever, the good, the true, the beautiful, how we should organize culture and society that make communication the most simple and straightforward. So like Claire is very much on that thing. Straightforward communication, saying what you think, is direct communication is the best way of communicating. Again, this gets at that antimony thing. I said this in a voice chat this morning. I said, this may probably seem nonsensical to people, but like, I think that my communication style is as direct. I try to be as direct as I can. Like, I really am not trying to be indirect as a communicator, and people will hear that. And I imagine people you could laugh hysterically at that. Someone may, who's in here. But again, like at the highest level, Nate said this. He said the Silver Age Russian said that like when you are probably getting at the deepest level of knowledge and the deepest ways of being able to communicate something abstractly, it's going to be an antimony. It's going to be two seemingly opposite things that are one. And now this is just mere abstract intellectual conversations. We all know things operate at this level because it's like valuable. Again, the valuable illustration. What is something that is the most valuable? Something that's invaluable. That's an antimony, kids. So like the Mona Lisa or a person, they're irreplaceable. They're non-fungible. So like we all know this stuff, but when you start to say it abstractly, you confuse it with your maps and your modes and the Sunday school answers and the things that you've been told and levels of identity, which are what I call egoic knowing. And then you're like, these things they don't map. It doesn't map to my map. And I'm like, of course it won't, because it's above your map. Like the highest level that I know how to talk about is antimony, abstractly. And I try to talk about the stuff as directly as I can at the highest level. But then I also say things like, everybody knows this, because we all know these things in properly oriented living, because we all know that human beings are valuable and invaluable. We all know that. So like, what is the best mode of communication, direct or indirect? It depends on who you're talking to. Is it good to small talk or not? It depends on who you're talking to. Is the Claire style direct type of communication the best? Depends on who you're talking to. Because Claire will say things like, you know, we're all American people who are nannied and scared of our wives, and so we won't say things and we won't say what we really think. But then somebody comes on stream like Jacob and tells her what she really thinks, or me, because like Claire will say two things. Like she'll say that I'm simultaneously I don't say what I think, and I'm like a nanny and I'm indirect, and then I'll very directly say, I disagree with you and I just refuse to be colonized by you. And then she'll say, like, I am the most, what did she say to me in a private or in like a response in a YouTube comment? She's like, I'm essentially like, I'm the most authoritarian live streamer that she can think of. And I'm like, well, you can't both see, like, this is the difference between an antinomy and a contradiction. You can't say simultaneously that I am the most authoritarian live streamer that you've ever come across, and that I am an emasculated man who won't say what he thinks and won't tell women or someone he disagrees with their place and take control of his own thing. I mean, like, those two things are the opposite, you know, and maybe they're both true and that I do them at different times, but like, so, what did I say? Oh, I'm going to read next thing, and then I'm going to do branding because I told everybody I would. And then I'm going to read something else here, and then I'm going to open this up for people to come and play. Let me say, but like, again, I'm going to enforce the rules. And so like, I won't allow people to come on and turn it into their stream, you know, but I would like to engage with people and listen to what they have to say, provided they follow the rules. So knowing via initiation. So Nick sent me this, Free Rillian. He said, take great pains to be clear. Remember that though you start by knowing what you mean, the reader doesn't. And a single ill-chosen word may lead him to a total misunderstanding. In a story, it is terribly easy just to forget that you have not told the reader something that he wants to know. The whole picture is so clear in your own mind that you forget that it isn't the same in his. And that's very true. That's very true. Like all the stuff that I'm saying is clear in my mind. But then the challenge is that I have to say words that try to communicate what is in my mind and the vision that's in my mind to your mind. And this is like, I'll make up terms like mosaic vision, but like if I don't give you enough pieces of the mosaic, you can't see it. And the whole goal is to see it. It's not to see like, because that's meaning. Meaning is imagination and seeing it in your mind's eye, the same thing that I'm talking about. But I'm usually talking about something that is very difficult to convey. So I agree with that Lewis statement in a lot of ways, but like you need to say the right words, and even having a better vocabulary is probably a better thing to be able to communicate clearly, because you can get more precision with your language. But it's a very difficult thing to know how to do. And then it says, what is persuasion in a personalist world with a God and everything of your own understanding? So like, because we see all these things through our own perceptions and minds and interpretations, but yet there's a thing behind that, because we're also seeing through to the essence of things, because we're all participating in the same reality. Even materialists assume that. Everyone assumes that, like even like metaverse people, because they're like, well, we're all living in our own simulations. Because I mean, that's essentially just like, that's punting to like a substance ontology physicalist understanding of the universe, where like we're all living in our own simulation, but like behind that, the thing behind the thing is like some sort of base substance reality. I find physicalism to be real dumb philosophically. But like, what is the best? So then the question becomes, what are the best spaces of initiation to communicate in light of all of that? I don't know. I mean, I tend to think that it would be, my answer is probably pretty clear. I think that my kind of weird part of this is intentional and part of this is just the way my mind works. So I think that this kind of weird, direct, indirect, meandering, mosaic style of communicating is kind of a weird, poetic. I'm speaking propositionally, so like it's prosaic in that sense, but I'm also speaking poetically in the sense that like it's very meta, it's very abstract, it's very I'm making up my own terms, and so it's a little confusing. It's a little Taoistic. There's some order, but there's also some chaos in it. I'm trying to communicate in a way that's like an antimony. It's both modern, but it's also postmodern, but it's also pre-modern, because that's just flipping the way that my mind kind of works. And so I'm trying to model that. I'm also just trying to be honest and authentic and genuine. And it is simultaneously confusing and compelling for people, which is, I mean, it must be compelling, which is why people are here to some degree. All right, I'm going to do some branding because I'll be right back. I'm not quite done. Just a sec. Don't leave. Don't leave me. Which one are we playing? Let's go with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. I left 9 comments on the Glenn Sunshine conversation. And he did his whole randos in the end. Nice. Like, sure. Good work. Let's see. I timed it. I left. Let's count them. We back. I had to give some hugs. All right. I'm writing some more notes of my. Oops. I was going to write pick and choose under the movie that you suggested, the French film. But then I was going to write pick and. I don't know why. I went to write pick and Jews, which is a different thing, I think. All right. So I kind of said this to OG Rose. This is probably something I'd want to say to Daniel or OG Rose, because like this is the difference between me and Daniel, OG Rose, or a lot of people in the corner. I think Nate would realize this. Nate, are you here? Grill Country, are you watching? I haven't seen a comment yet. Matt C is here. Look at Matt C. Whoa. Listening's important. But so like, and part of this is just gifting. So like Daniel, philosophically, and with a lot more technical precision, like I don't know that I've ever heard anything that Daniel is saying that I disagree with. Now, does that mean that I'm accurately understanding what he's trying to convey and talking about? In as much as I'm able, I think it's true. I think it's true that what he's saying, I agree with. And he's pointing to a lot of the same. He's just doing like a technical, academic, like very within the intellectual tradition of academia and referencing the right books and the right words with technical precision. He's articulating things that I'm also trying to talk about, but I'm just doing in my own completely unique, non-fungible, Lukeism kind of a way. But I think it's the same stuff. I think we're talking about the same things. Now, here's what I think. I think that people can have because what you see in here depends a lot upon where you're standing, and because you can be right and be wrong, or be wrong and be right. You can hear all the stuff that Daniel's saying, and you can have maps of what that is and how that translates into your brain and think you're in complete agreement, but not be. So that kind of academic, direct, one-to-one communication, you can hear all the same stuff and think you're understanding the same stuff, but not be understanding the same things. You can be worlds apart saying the exact same words. This is the problem with confessionalism, is you can say the exact same words and mean completely different things. And that points at Christologic. It's the difference between God and mammon, because you can say the exact same words and meaning is totally different. Welcome to human beings. But like with me and how I communicate, part of the reason my words are confusing is because I don't like confessionalism. And here's the thing, personalism isn't even an ism. It's impossible of being an ism because it's centered in the person. And the person is irreducible, irreplaceable, completely non-fungible, completely unique. So what they mean can never be reproduced, ever. It's not, whatever the person means is probably not even able to be conveyed, which is why Rob Bell says something like, God is he about whom we must never speak and we must always keep speaking. But also everything is. That is iconic knowing, where the thing, and it's saving the appearances, it's Owen Barfield, so that the thing that you are saying is never an end in itself. Yes, do you want that to be accurate? Do you want to use the best words for Nick's C.S. Lewis thing that he was saying, so that you are not unintentionally confusing? That's the difference between probably obfuscation. Like the goal isn't to obfuscate. Again, it's like, what are you trying to do? This is like the heart. This is the thing behind the thing. What is the heart, the noetic impulse and intuition behind your communication? This is why Christ and Antichrist are a hair's breadth, right? Because small talk can be demonic and it can be means of hiding and veiling and not being seen. It can also be a means to being seen. I mean, is this making sense? I see this so clearly. I don't know how to say it more clearly. Saying confessional words can be an attempt to be as clear as you possibly can as a means of unity, but then it can also become demonic and a means of hiding, because then you can just give the Sunday school answer, you can just parrot the words, and your heart can be far from me. The Bible talks about this stuff. Like, I feel like there are so many verses about this. Like the person who comes, who Jesus, he tells a parable about the person who comes and says, Lord, Lord, didn't we do this and this and this and this and this? Didn't we go to church? Didn't we say all the right words? Didn't we cast out demons in your name? Didn't we do all this? And he'll be like, depart from me, I never knew you. Because you can do all the right things and mean them in all the wrong ways. Yes. Okay. Now this is where I'm going to have my, like, I know already. And this is good for me because this is highlighting my own idolatry. I want to confess this before I open it up, and then we'll do more branding. Is because I wrote this at the top: communication and the libidinal pursuit of the lack. Here's the thing: I talk about the libidinal lack. I talk about the libidinal pursuit of the lack all the time. And again, to say what it means, I should probably do branding on the libidinal pursuit of the lack. I didn't do my grim branding either. The lack. This is a Peter Rollins term, and it's very like Lacanian, Zizhakian. The lack, psychoanalytically, is that which promises to make you whole and complete. If fill in the blank, if this just happens, then I'll be okay. Then communication will happen. Then they will love me. If I just this, then that. It's really mammon, but like that's the lack. And he says, it's what promises to make you whole. If this just happens, then I'll be okay. That's what's promising to make you whole and complete. And Peter Rollins says the libidinal, the unconscious just drive. Again, and Daniel spoke about drive the other day. So like this unconscious drive for object A, this is how you talk about it in Lacanian terms. If this just happens, if I just get this thing, then I'll be okay. That's the external objective drive when he says we need to change to an internal drive. I have that with communication. I have the libidinal pursuit of the lack with communication. So this is my confession. We're in Lent. Here's my internet, YouTube, live streaming confession. I have the libidinal pursuit of the lack when it comes to communication. And I think if I just try hard enough to communicate these things, and I'm just passionate enough, and if I just speak enough to people and as many times, then they will understand me and see me, and I will feel validated. And God is gracious to pull the rug out for me every damn time that I try to do that because I think I know, but I do not yet know as I ought to know. I am right. Here's the thing. I think I'm technically right about there'll be no pursuit of the lack, but I'm wrong because I'm still blinded to it in all these aspects of my own life. Because all the time, because sometimes I'll crash out, as my teenage daughter says, where I will, Matt knows this, I flame out a little bit harder sometimes in group chats where, and Matt is on the receiving end of it, or Nick, forgive me, Nick. Forgiveness Sunday. Forgive me, Nick, for I've sinned against you. As God forgives, I forgive. I get really mad when people don't understand me because I'm trying so hard, but it's good. It's good because God is pointing out my idolatry. Because the goal isn't for me to be understood. The goal is for me to give myself for others, because that's what it means to be truly human. And I don't yet know that as I ought to know, because I haven't become fully dead yet, as Lilith says. All right. I need to get some water. Let's do some fun branding too. Let's do some egotistical branding, because we all know, and when I make the grim stuff, we'll know even more. I drink. What's that Sia song? 1, 2, 3, drink. 1, 2, 3. No, don't do fun tonight. Cheap Thrills. What is the song? You know what I'm talking about. I want to do the kitty one, but the kitty one doesn't give me the screen. I could just mute my screen or not mute. See, I say that thing. I'm going to go vacuum the driveway. Mute my screen. I meant it's not mute, but like blank my screen. Okay, now I'm gonna really drop the link. Hopefully people can come play. Come out of the lurk. Join us. Join our cult. The only longer brandings I have are these egotistical brandings where people say, like the Sam branding or the Matt C branding. Maybe this will encourage Matt C to come out. Let's do that. And then I'll go pin this.
Someone like me has to give you it's kind of there's David and Samson again. Do I need to give you permission, Luke Thompson, to have different modalities? No, that's absurd. I need to realize that I was the one that misunderstood. You were already operating in that space, and I am lower than. And I didn't see from my lower position on the mountain, I didn't see the other dimensions of what was happening higher up.
Yeah, the TLC would work so much better if people always just realize when they don't understand me, I'm just higher up the mountain. Yeah. I'm in the clouds, and you guys just don't get it. Eventually, you'll get it. That's kind of a joke, but it's also not a joke because I often feel that way because I'm an asshole. See, again, the paradoxical. Is that egotistical, or is it? But I end with I'm an asshole. Look at this. We got so many people. Mitchell.
Hey, man.
Alan. Hello. Mitch is my, every once in a while I have people who are experts in something that I just really love that I've met online, and I call them my pocket whatever. So like, I have like a pocket theologian, or I have like a pocket Jew expert, like Chezi and Yosef are like my pocket Jews. Mitch is my pocket. It's like film genius. Anytime there's movies, Alan, sorry, Alan was probably immediately hurt by that because Alan's a big film person too. And I was thinking, because since I watched the A Dinner with Andre, and I'm obsessed with it, I was like, I would love to have a recurrent thing. We tried this in Randos United for a while. We had like Randos conversations about films. We've done a few of them at different times. Like I had a couple about A Hidden Life. I had like 3 conversations about Joker. Look at this. Listen, you guys are all going to be outshone. Everyone's about to be outshined by my favorite. Sorry, Matt C. The one, the only one, boy. Okay. So, anyhow, Mitch, you were here first. What do you have to say? You're my pocket film critic.
Yeah, so I haven't seen My Dinner with Andre, so I'm probably going to lose that pocket film critic designation real fast. But I liked a lot what you're saying with this message you got from, I guess, Nick, about he tries to pretend for a while to know what you're talking about, but then he kind of has to admit that he doesn't. It seems to me basically a good thing. I don't know the best way to put it, except that it feels related to Christian nihilism and the fact of what it means to believe being much more splendid than what's readily understood when the word is said. I mean, obviously, the intellectual, logical, emotional response is what Craig calls the plausibility mechanism. It does or doesn't feel true, but faith transcends that realm. You know, the James Epistle, even demons believe and shudder. They intellectually assent, they emotionally respond, but it isn't counted as faith. Faith instead behaves. So I can at least get that belief has to be, I mean, a belief can be an emotional response, an intellectual cohesion, enactability. Also, I think it's kind of like unwilled intuition, or to lift the phrase, self-evident truths, which is just unfalsifiability first class. And so it's a hard sell, but I still think it's there.
Obviously, I love that. Because I've always said, like, the most valuable things you can say are always going to be unfalsifiable. Like when people tell me like what I've said is unfalsifiable, I'm like, thank God, good.
I mean, I guess to add to that, what you always say, Luke, is, I mean, belief is relational. If everything's equally deconstructible, which is probably a bridge too far, but if everything's deconstructible, you should choose those worldviews, of those you love and admire. Behavioral belief, which is maybe something like pragmatism. Desire, I think, is a part of belief, or the help my unbelief, or the wanting to want to believe. But yeah, and then the only other thing is I wanted to say is I really appreciate people. I kind of relate to what you're talking about with expressing yourself in a mosaic way. And the people who have been very beneficial to me are people who don't just let my nonsense that comes out of my mouth, what I understand as nonsense, even to myself, they don't let it bounce off, but they take it seriously. People are taking my nonsense seriously. I'm like, oh, maybe I was actually saying something there that I didn't even think I was saying anything. And then just the last thing I wanted to say is that I think the clarity thing, I resonate with you too. I don't think I get mad when people don't understand me, but I think I can get disappointed, or I have an idea that's just revolutionized my life and I want to get it across and can't. But I think Paul asks, the Colossians to pray for him to speak clearly. So it's probably something that we need the Spirit's help with, and we have to pray. We have to pray to be able to speak clearly.
Nice. That was all beautiful. So, sorry, I hate it. I need a cough mic. Matt C, come on here and defend this. I hate this comment. All right. Ian or Alan. Ian, you were next. What do you got, buddy?
I really appreciate what this Matt had to say. Or Mitch.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
My
His
screen's
name's
tiny. I can't read his name. Yeah.
Mitch, change your name to Matt, please. In the little bar below you.
I'm new. So I read Hebrews 11 a little while ago, and some people may have seen me talking with Chad about it a little bit, but I was like reading it in the NIV, and sometimes I just do that to like break out of other traditional translations that I am more familiar with, and the words were like making me dig in. I had to read like a concordance because I needed to see like what they meant in the original text, and it was fascinating how the words were just very like I just want to talk about one word in particular, but it was basically like the second verse of chapter 11 is like they I think it's assurance or something more congratulatory or like some sort of achievement for the fathers of the faith, but the word really just means experience or to gain witness of God, and so through their faith they took these actions that gave them a witness of God, and the word is like martyreo, where we get martyr from, and it was just making me think that like that is so fundamental to faith. And Mitch, you that really just tacked on to what you were saying. And then another theme that I picked on a lot a while ago was that in Deuteronomy, God is always telling them not to see but to hear. And so there's this cool thing about like what we see can be deceiving. It's more like surface level, but what you hear is from the inside or the inner person that's communicating with you. And so I was thinking about the way that people say, like when you're talking to somebody and they get it and you're like, oh, I feel so seen right now. And you don't mean that you feel seen. You mean that you feel genuinely received by the other person or perceived. And I think it's so funny because, yeah, Luke, you say a lot of stuff and I haven't read all the same things that you've read, but I resonate with you, right? That's like an oral sort of perception. I resonate
I'll
with
take
you.
it.
And it doesn't mean that I know precisely every different thing that you're saying. And I don't know. I'm just going to plug Rigel's stream that I was on Friday. It was so great. And we talked about stuff like this. And there was just a moment where we were talking about the difference between seeing and hearing. Oh, no, that was Martin Shaw on PVK. But anyway, I just have been thinking like, yeah, there's like a relational necessity here where people want to scale. So they want these little building block ideas that they can stack on top of each other and, reach higher than the heavens, like Tower of Babel stuff. But the spread is where you are like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, Luke. Can you unpack that for me? So you said something. I don't know what it means. But if I ask you to unpack it, then all of a sudden we get this spread, right? What was in the box is now spread out. And we can be like, yeah, I know what that part is, or I know what that part is. That's like another thing. And so we connect in the spread, and maybe I don't know what the scale thing is for. I feel like we're dogging on scale too much, but it's definitely a piece of this. Like you have to scale. There has to be jargon in order to communicate efficiently. But then when you double click on something, you're able to get into the real essence of things together.
Love it. Yeah, I think that's good. Alan, Mr. Handsome?
Hey, and that's what other people say about me, but I would never say that.
I just wanted everyone to know who I was talking to. I want to be clear.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that would denote who you're talking to. The one thing, two ideas. One, I think with the value conversation, there's a lot more to discuss with you brought up Mona Lisa and you brought up like, oh, how much is that worth? It's like there are things that teach us what to value and become almost like they become like platonic forms of value of like, this is what good art is. This is, if someone says like, what is a painting, you're probably going to pull up a photo of Starry Night or the Mona Lisa or blah blah blah. So we kind of forget that we are in the game of, we assume like, oh, the things we desire, they're off in this other world, and then the world is over here, and we use our desires to like decide what we want to do. But the world teaches us what to value and who to be. And so, there's a reciprocal relationship with what the things that are in the world and what you desire. And that's part of that value conversation. Then the other thing is you brought up the like dying to the small talk and the dying to self. I think that one of the thing, obviously, like, I'll like sort of be like, oh, small talk is good, small talk, and it can come across, I think, as like, well, that's an obligation. Like people think like I'm saying like that's an obligation you have, and you have to fulfill this obligation, and like people deserve your attention, and when you're at a party, you have to listen to them talk about football, even if you don't want to listen to them. But it's really not. I don't mean it in the obligatory way of like when your mom says like you have to say hi, Mrs. Charleston, like please look her in the eye and shake her hand. Okay, yeah. I mean it in the way of if you properly engage with other people and you respect you and you also respect yourself, you'll be able to play better games than if you just assumed they had nothing to offer you. But that also but when you take that seriously, this is the thing I wanted to add to it. When you take it seriously, um it also means respecting your own desires and values. So it's not just going to parties and making small talk for 5 hours and you being like, I want to put a bullet in my head. It's also you being like, okay, I'm talking to this person. What can I say that would make this conversation better for them and better for me? And maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's like you talk for 5 minutes, you say, oh, I'll see you later, and then you move on to the next person. But if you really respected yourself and the other person, there's often ways to find when you really listen to them and they say like, I love football. And it's like, oh, you just ask them like, why do you love football? It's like, oh, I grew up playing it with my dad. I was like, oh, your dad taught you football? And
Right.
he's like, yeah, he played professional football and blah, blah, blah. And, I always wanted to play, but I never could, like these little
Hmm.
doors open up. But that's because you assumed like, you didn't just assume like, oh, he wants to talk about the New York Giants. Like, this sucks. Ah, what a loser. You assumed like, is there a way I can ask appropriate questions that would re-engage me in the conversation and engage a new part of this other person in the conversation and make it better,
Yeah.
reciprocally better for everyone? Um, and that's not always going to happen. And you're not always going to get the guy crying in your arms and being like, my father never loved me. And that's why I cheer for the Packers. And, I grew up cheering for the Giants because I resent and hate him. Like,
Right.
that's not always going to be the end goal. But I think when you seriously, basically, when you take those relationships seriously, when you take those um like why am I at this party, why am I here, what value am I looking to get out of it, what value are people presenting to me, why do I, you say like, oh, I have to love my family. It's like, well, like really dig into like what is your true relationship, because people don't always love their families. Like they say they
Right.
do, they'll pretend to, but that's not really what love is. You talked about it earlier of like, have we not cast out demons in your name? It's like you can say, of course I love my family, and it's like that doesn't mean anything to me, because if anything, it kind of denotes that you don't really love your family, because you're saying, of course, like, well, I have to do this obligation of, performatively loving my family by silently standing up in the corner of our holiday party for 30 minutes and then going up to my room to watch YouTube videos. It's like, that's not
Right.
love, that's like obligation, coercion. But if you actually, the actual love starts with, okay, what can I offer them, what can they offer me, how can we arrange this in a proper way? And sometimes that means not, doing less. Sometimes that means like I can't see my family every weekend and watch the football game with them. I can once a year throw a holiday party and make it really fun in a way that they'll enjoy and I'll enjoy. But a holiday party could be 6 hours, but that could be more authentic love than the like every weekend I go over to watch football with my family, but secretly I hate and resent them because they're making me watch football.
Although, Alan, it just made me think, as you were saying that, of what the beginning of the thing where Nick would try to pretend to understand Luke. And I do think that there's some level of performativity even to authentic love. And I think the performativity is made necessary by the fact that you don't fully understand the other person, but that you're in some way pretending to understand them by participating in what it means, the duty of love, or what it means to love somebody, or what it means to be a faithful Christian, even if you don't fully understand every element of the faith, or what it fully means to be a good citizen and to serve your country and community, even if you see the kind of the holes in it. So I don't know. Increasingly, I think about performativity as not so negative a thing, but it definitely it's has its drawbacks.
Yeah, can I just quickly, like, because I agree with you. The only thing I'd add is I don't come like, I agree with you. I don't come from it from I must understand everything, then I can do. I come at it from like, I do things out of obligation all the time. I do things out of like going along with what everyone else is doing to see, because that might open up a doorway. But I'm also try to be somewhat conscious and aware of like, yes, I'm doing this out of obligation. Oh, I really don't want to do this right now, but I'm doing it because, I think it'd be good for this other person, even in a way that I don't understand. I'm not doing math of like, like, let me analyze this situation. Like, they will get 30 points of value out of this conversation. Even if I get -5, that still means that we get a positive 25 points of value. Like, it's, you're entering into these relationships. And yes, like part of that is obligation, but we're not. There's a moment like when teenage kids realize, I don't want to do this stuff anymore because my parents just made me do this stuff. And that's moving from the doing it unawares obligation to aware of this was an obligation that's foisted on me and I don't want to participate in it anymore. But then there comes a third part where it's like, oh yeah, this is still an obligation, but I'm going to enter it into anyway because I think there's something valuable that comes out of it. So I agree. The only thing I wanted to add is we're both talking about consciously entering into obligations, even if they're obligations we don't fully understand, but you're still entering it into consciously.
So I want to play this clip if I can find it. Where was it? Zizek. He talks about like do you guys remember Zizek a few months ago had a clip where he was talking about obligation, and he was saying, I'll just try to repeat it the best that I can because I can't find it, but he was basically saying like the parent who wants the child to go to their grandparents and just ask the child to go to their grandparents. And then when the child's like, no, I don't want to, and then just like lets the child do that, versus the parent that says like, no, you need to go to your grandma's. Do you realize what she did for you and what's going on? He's like, that parent is way more tyrannical, but they're trying to motivate the child by having positive obligations, which are like a good thing. And this is the problem. This is why I love Peter Rollins and Zizekian philosophy so much, is because the good thing, the law, this is spirit and law. The law is good if you use it lawfully. The obligation is good if it's motivated by the right things. If it's not, Christ becomes Antichrist.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Sorry, I think I know the clip you're talking about. He's saying that the parent who says this is just an obligation, you just have to go and visit grandma, is less tyrannical than the one who says, yeah, no, that's exactly, because the parent who says you should want this is making a claim to your entire like values. It's saying like your values,
deepest part of you.
Yeah,
they're not just telling you what to do; they're telling you like
what to believe,
you should love and what to believe.
Yeah. And so
I kind of want to know what I should want, though. Because want is so fickle and it's so feels like out of your control. To know what I want is the first step for me wanting to want it, and then organizing my life towards that desire.
Here, I want to play the clip just for fun because we talked about it. I think this should be right. Let's see. No, I hate you, Ozempic.
Oh my God.
Also,
Alan, this stream is officially.
You are a small.
Okay, here we go.
Imagine you are a small girl or boy of, let's say, 8 years. It's Sunday afternoon, and your father wants you to visit your old grandmother. You, of course, detest it. She's old, senile, whatever. But then, if you have an old authoritarian father, he will tell you what? He will tell you something like, and this would be, as Alenka put it, a good thing to do. He will tell you, listen, I don't care how you feel. Just do your duty. Go to your grandmother and behave there properly. That's perfect, I claim. Because you will retain your, let's call it, inner freedom. You will be furious at your father. But that's good for your long-term freedom and so on. Now, what would a monster called postmodern permissive father do? He would not give you an order, but he would have told you something like this. You only go to visit your grandmother if you really want it. Just remember how much your grandmother loves you. Now, a child is not an idiot, and he or she will know perfectly what this order means. Beneath the appearance of a free choice, it gives you a much harsher order. The order is not only you must go and visit your grandmother, but you must do it freely. You must really wish to visit your grandmother. So you see this nice example of how and this is basically what also Alenka described as that situation, do whatever you want, etc., where the apparent freedom of choice masks a much harsher choice.
She's actually so great. I think I said it the opposite way, but he fixed it. Because it's really like when you're telling someone how they have to feel about something versus just what they have to do, it's way more messed up.
Yeah, I still don't know. I mean, you almost can't control how someone feels. You can't control how you feel a lot of the times. But knowing how your desire should ultimately be oriented is a path towards getting that. To put the perspective that the parent seems to be giving this kid, like, don't you realize what this person has done for you? It's kind of widening the scope of what's meaningful, and even if that cuts you to your heart, then maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, this is also Paul. This is also hilarious. I want to get Alan. We've talked about that Zizek video before, but it's like I've said this before. But my wife, she said like our marriage got to be a lot easier when she told me, she's just like, I learned to just ignore about like 3/4 of the things that I say. She was just like, understanding me became way easier. So listen, this is not like everyone who's just like, you're confusing and what are you talking about and be more clear. Yeah, you're welcome. Join the club, everyone. Okay, Alan.
It's good to hear.
Mitch, shut up. Okay? Matt, Peter, whatever the heck your name is. Jeez. Look, Womboy, what's wrong with your internet? Fix it. All right? Jeez. Experimental art making, writing, whatever, is a bid for connection from the heart, attempting to be perceived accurately, is what happens at the end of trying to be understood, though unconventional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess with that, sorry, did you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
No, with that clip, it's understanding the relation, because all these, and this is this is why I think Luke's Christ, Antichrist, whatever, that might make it more confusing. But like, the parents should want to develop the kid, but realize the limitations of that development. Is you can't like we all kind of agree that like the drunken father who's like, you're gonna play football, like I don't give a shit, like you're gonna, like we're like, oh, that guy's so ignorant and how could he's drinking Lone Star beer and blah blah blah. But then like the parent who's like, Skylar, you're gonna love your grandma and you're gonna have a great time and she's your Mickey Mookie, your Mickey Mookie wants to see you tonight. Like put on your happy shoes because she's gonna be so fun. It's like we don't associate that with the like you're gonna play football and you don't give whatever. I don't give a shit about this gay soccer European stuff. It's just like we don't associate those two characters, but those two characters are doing the same thing. They're both making claims on the person's like loves and their desires. Whereas the parent who's just like, shut up and get in the car is like, just like, this is an obligation. You might not enjoy it. Well, talk to them for like 30 minutes and then go.
I know she stinks.
Yeah. And then, but to Mitch's point, I do think formation is part of forming people's loves. I just think that you have to use those cards at the right time, and picking very specific things. It's more like the way you're going to form your children's loves is across many, many interactions and many, many different games, and picking one and being like, no, I will strong arm you into loving this thing is like a very dangerous game. And I think we're aware of that with the example of like the dad who wants his son to play football, because like it's like, no, he wants to do science and go to the science fair, and we're like, you should just let him go to the science fair and not make him play football. But like we don't see that in other ways. But yeah, like in a higher degree, like I think you should want to, you use subtler tools with forming a child's loves. Like you use like demonstration and like how mom treats dad and how dad treats mom will be a way to form someone's loves, but that's much gentler than just your kids seeing you be kind to one another is much gentler than like, now when you're married, you're going to treat your wife super well and blah, blah, blah. And you're going to have to love it. Like that. That's just falling into the same trap, but I'll end it there.
Thank God. Ian, what do you have to say? There's all these people.
I think it'd be funny to. I think it would be funny to see like one of those as like a TV comedy character, like the Southern conservative that demands his son plays soccer. That would just be entertaining, I think.
You will do theater.
The thing I came back on to say. Yeah.
Ball chain, soft shoe. Do it again. Just like making him learn tap. Your pirouettes were sloppy.
Yeah.
Listen, when we come on stream, SNL should just be on here grifting our genius ideas.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wanted to plug the conversation you had with Womboy. I thought it was
hell yeah
amazing.
Better than mine with Matt. Am I right?
I think it was so. Yeah, well, for obvious reasons. Sorry, Matt. I was throwing shade. Womboy was talking about always being this way and how she needed to go through her life to go through all of the things that make up the person that she is, or reveal the person that she is, or break the person that she maybe isn't but wasn't able to be. Or it just feels like a sort of natural process of life, and some people are able to maybe like withstand pressures to conform in order to live out that life. And I tend to be of a mind that like that's better, and I try to live that way as much as I can. But I genuinely want all of the sort of conformists to like not conform. Like I want to see who you actually are. You know what I'm saying? And so anyway, I think that when we're talking about like controlling people, that impulse is human nature, maybe, but it isn't our best nature, our highest nature. It's not aimed at something good or positive. And so, yeah, I really like Dallas Willard a lot. He talks about this in The Divine Conspiracy, where he goes through the Sermon on the Mount. And it's really enjoyable to read the way that he interprets the Sermon on the Mount. Even like, let your yes be yes and your no be no. He talks about that as a way of using language to manipulate people. And Jesus is saying, don't do that. Just say what you mean and follow it up. Like, you be trustworthy. And then you don't run the risk of being like, well, we have to be nice and happy. Yeah. And it's sad and disgusting.
Nice, thank you. Your internet, your cellular holds out well enough for you to get the point across. And now we have Matt C here. Matt C, what's on your mind? He's frozen.
Just me and you, Luke.
If I turn my video off, is this okay?
Yeah, that's better. Don't leave me with my pocket film critic.
Roboting.
Okay, I think it's working now. Go ahead. Maybe it's not. Matt, he tried. He really wanted to join in, but he can't. Florida man, out and out. Brett, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm curious. I have to ask you. So, like, all right, first on the parent thing, the example that we were given on the dad, saying you got to go to your grandmother's.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, okay. I mean, you're not really star manning the dad, right? Like, so, like, if he's saying, you really should do this because of this, this, and this, and all the things that, you know, your grandmother has done for you and all this stuff. But sometimes, you know, you're trying to help the kid see the long game. You know, like my dad would say, she's not going to be here forever, you know, and that's reality. And yeah, it's kind of manipulating an emotion essentially, but he's playing the tape out for me completely as a kid, and I'm trying to learn why this is important. Like in my mind as a kid, I'm thinking she's going to be around forever. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, to me, it's disingenuous just to say that. It's kind of like when my dad would plan a vacation because he was OCD. He would plan every minute of the vacation. And I got to tell you, it was annoying as a kid. And why do I have to go to this? Why do I have to see this? I don't want to see this. I don't feel like seeing this. But then as I got older, I realized, man, I got to see a lot of cool stuff, man. I mean, yeah, as a kid, I felt oppressed. You know what I mean? But in reality, you know, when you get older and you start realizing these things and you're like, this was pretty awesome. So I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense as far as that part. And then the other part I wanted to kind of go back to was, the idea of small talk. I know you hate it, right? I mean, I guess the definition of small talk is, like you mentioned, talking about the weather, right? But what I was trying to say in the chat, I was saying, like, what's great about human interaction and what's great about genuinely hearing somebody, whether you want to hear what they're saying or not. You're like, I think, I forget whether it was Mitch was saying this, somebody was saying it, maybe Alan, I think it was. He was saying that, you know, you put yourself through the paces because you love them. You know, as God's creation, you're giving them the due that they deserve to as a human being, and you're listening to what they have to say. To you, it might not be important, but then all of a sudden they're talking about the weather. I'm thinking of old times. They're talking about the weather and they say, you know, there's going to be a storm coming and tornado warnings and all this stuff, and you're like, oh man, I got to do something with my crops, you know. And the next thing you know, this small game of small talk has turned into saving your family and the crops and starvation. So that's kind of like, it's like you just don't know how God will use a conversation to edify you. Does that make sense? Okay, that was a lot.
No, yes, I think that's good. And this is where, like, these things can always flip. You know, me saying like Christ and Antichrist or a hair's breadth is not I'm never, and I was trying to convey this. I'm never condemning something as absolutely bad. Like I thought I talked about how small talk, everything's a gift if you use it as a gift. Like small talk is a blessing if it's used appropriately, but it can be a way of hiding too. You know, like trying to parent your kids in the same way as Zizek was talking about, trying to parent your kids in a way where they are thinking about all these things and knowing all these dynamics. And like, you're not going to have your grandma forever. But like, I have personally experienced with my own kids, and I don't know if part of this is like, I think Zizek's main point, to which I've gotten to agree with, like, if I had to just say what I think has probably been my biggest parenting mistake is over-explaining things. I tell my kids way too much, and I don't think it helps. Like since they've become teenagers, I think it's a bad idea because I grew up in a very authenticity culture. Like I wanted my kids to understand all the reasons for doing everything. We grew up in that with parenting, right? I did, where it was just like, you don't just tell your kids what to do and then spank them when they don't do it. Like tell them the reasons. You have to explain it to them. Doesn't work. Not in my experience, you know? And sometimes, like I've even gotten to the point with my daughter where I used this example the other day where we told her she couldn't go on a ride somewhere down to an airport because something was happening in Minneapolis at the time, and she just needed to come home, and she was not happy about it because my one daughter in particular is the most extroverted person in the world. So if you tell her she like can't do some social thing, she doesn't like it. But she's gotten to the point where she didn't throw a big fit, she didn't do whatever. She was clearly upset, came home, like I can tell she's upset about all of it. And then she came downstairs and we were talking to her about it a little bit anymore. And this is like how I've shifted in my parenting, is before all that would have driven me nuts because I would just, because I used to think like, nope, your heart has to be right in this. I want you to obey and I want you to like it. But now it's gotten to the point where I'm just like, no, thank you. Thank you for obeying. You be angry and do not sin. You can be angry. You don't have to like this decision, but you're doing it. Thank you. Like, your heart doesn't have to be in the right place. Thank you for just obeying.
Yeah. Hey there, how's it going? That guy with the weird spelt name. Nice to meet you.
That's Brett.
Hey, Chad.
I think sometimes we have scuffles in the comments, but that's okay.
Yeah. Not to a fellow AA member.
I'm not. I am not in AA.
He's
anyways.
now here as yeah. This isn't yeah. Yep.
He's out of himself.
This is just Chad the Tyler.
Yeah, I'm Chad the Tyler, not Chad the alcoholic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to.
It's okay. It's okay. It doesn't. I'm the only one who really cares about that sort of thing. Just ignore me. Anyways, I was thinking about the good bad example. You know, my dad. Well, he honestly just really wasn't there. And so anytime that he was there, he would always do this kind of thing that you guys are saying, where you need to do this because of this. And there was like no, prior built context about this stuff. So it was always kind of like I could see the truth in what he was saying, but then like I just ignored it on principle because wasn't able to kind of develop a respect for his authority. And then as I got older, I got to see his example of life. And it was just like, I come to a point where it's like everything that Dad says to do, I must do the opposite because it's actually stupid, the things that he suggests. And then I got to a point where like, now what happens when you, the child, kind of becomes something of like the voice of reason? And the parent doesn't listen, right? So my dad's mother was on the deathbed, and I talked with her, and she was terrified of death. So I'm talking with her. She's over in Washington, my dad's in Texas, and I'm in Wisconsin, and we're talking about, I'm trying to. She has cancer and she's dying, and Ann and I got. At risk of painting myself to be a virtuous person, because I'm really not, but it's really Ann's idea. She's like, we got to go. We're going to go to Washington and meet your grandmother. Well, she died on the airplane when we were heading over there. But my dad made all these excuses as to why he couldn't go or shouldn't go because he couldn't afford it, which was a lie. And so now what? Like, what do you do in that situation? I'm probably not doing a good thing talking about this, but yeah, there's that.
No, that's I think, Chad, it's a good example, and thank you for sharing. I mean, it's I think what's hard about all of these things, like who said this before in the comments? Roland, I'll take sincerity over authenticity any of the day of the week. And I think what's hard, because like I said, sincerity, authenticity, and pro-felicity are all like, it's all a huge part of this, because like I'll try to just use the example of my daughter is like, and I think of this biblically this way, right? The law is a pedagogue. It's a teacher meant to lead you into obedience. So like, yes, you start off, just obey the rules, just do the obligation, sincerity culture, just do what you're supposed to. That's how everybody starts. That's how you're supposed to start. You're learning an instrument, learn the scales, do the rote thing, dribble the basketball, do drills all day. But like the goal, my problem with a certain kind of traditionalist, conservative person is like, the goal isn't to just merely dribble the ball and do layup drills all day. The goal is to play basketball. The goal is to be creative. The goal eventually is to learn all the rules in such a way that they're so deeply in you that you can break the rules and create new aspects of the game that we've never known before. And that's even classical education. You start off grammar, logic, rhetoric. You start off with grammar, just pull parrot, just do the thing over and over and over. And you have simple little jingles and movements and songs where you teach the kids a thing over and over and over. And then you teach them logic. You teach them the rules of logic and binary and structure. And then you move on to the rhetoric or the poetic, where you learn to break those rules for beauty. So like but that's faithful innovation. You're not ignoring what's come before. You've integrated it so you can transcend it. And everybody does that. Like Joe Rogan has talked about that with martial arts. He says the hardest people in the world to train are the people who can't forget their former training.
It's like Miyagi.
Yes.
Karate Kid. Paint
Yeah.
the fence, wax the car, and then when you're ready, I'll show you what all this means.
But the hard part with like to Chad's point or to my daughter's point or whatever, like, do I want my daughter to get to the point where she finds peace and security and rest in obeying me, where it's not a struggle, where she's not angry about it? Yes. The first step I'll take, just obey. Even if you're not happy about it, just obey. Great. Do I eventually want you to like it? Hell yes. And is that part of becoming a full person? Absolutely.
Yeah, and I tried to tell him. I asked the question, like, I'm like, Dad, someday you're going to be on a deathbed. Do you want me to give you the excuse that I can't afford to fly out? You know, like, it just didn't. This is the problem with the authenticity culture, the idea or the blind. I think it's willfully blind authenticity, where like we've all become this kind of like authority, and we're unwilling to like suffer the consequences of surrendering our authority because of some story we've heard, not even because we've actually suffered. So I don't know. It's annoying. It's annoying. I gotta go though because I gotta make cuts. But have a good one.
Thanks, buddy. See you, Chad, the Tyler guy. You can't shut it off. You can't even if you wanted to. You wanted to leave, you can't. Oh.
I see what he's saying, though.
Yeah. Well, and Chad is almost doing like the Zizekian father thing to his dad. I guess this is the thing with all human beings. What's hard about humans is like you can't grow. It's a difference between scale and growth, probably a little bit too. Is like growth is slow. You can't get someone. We all get to the finish line one step at a time. You can't say like, well, I see the track 2 miles down the road and I want you to be here developmentally. And they're just like, well, I can't just teleport there. So like, I can't be something that I'm not yet, you know, and I think and part of that is for the authority or the parent's role or whatever, because all of that, like even with my daughter, for example, or any of my kids, I have learned to be a better person through parenting them through, you know, and doing it poorly, you know, and not knowing what I'm doing and wanting to be, because I started off very much like more of which we all probably do, you know, I started off as all this like loosey-goosey, whatever parenting stuff, like is a very learned thing. Like I'm kind of an authoritarian asshole, you know?
No, come on.
Yeah. So like it's you know, it's learned. It's been a learned thing for me. And so and it's been good for me, you know. Most of my biggest learning moments have been not getting what I want, you know. Mark, welcome.
Hi, how are you
buddy.
all? I jumped on to annoy William Branch, who was complaining about beards.
Oh, so you want to give him a good beard?
Well, I think Brett has a good beard as well. I'm not.
I like how straight yours is.
The length of silliness, so I'm thinking of letting it go. But my daughter loves it, so it's difficult. And my wife likes the fact that she can grab it.
All right.
I didn't want to
like
move the conversation away. So
yeah. So Mark, someone told me, so I've probably told you this. So I've got a bunch of Georgians that go to my church.
Cool.
And they
they're all mad, you know.
Huh?
They're all mad.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're all, you know, I always make fun of one of the Georgian guys in my church, not to his face, of course, but he's just always, for the longest time, we have other conversations now, but for a while, it was just like every conversation we had is just like, eventually, like it always got back to like how Georgia is the best and George is the first and George is like the greatest. You know, it's just like it always ended in Georgia. You know how great Georgians are and the country, which I'm just like, whatever, that's wonderful. But
yeah, they do that. It's
yeah,
okay. Good to
yeah,
be
it's
proud
fine.
of where
I
you're
mean,
from.
love your country. But he was telling
Yeah.
me that I need to. He was talking to me about getting tailoring done in Georgia, and he's like, it's so much less money than America. He's like, if you ever want like a custom suit, he's just like, go to Georgia. You get all the same fabrics, all the same quality, way cheaper. So that's my little Georgia story.
Bless
Okay,
them.
we got about 10 minutes.
proud.
So
Very
anybody,
proud.
we can
Feel
just be
like it.
silly, or we can do closing thoughts, or
Oh, we're at that time.
we are getting to that time. I mean, it's almost 2 hours, man. I've been, you know, maybe I talk here. Let's do a quick little poll with those on screen. I mean, it probably isn't going to change anything, but it might slowly sow the seeds. Should I not monologue so long? I mean, good grief. Is it too much? Do you guys watch the monologues?
I was working when you did the monologue, so I was only half paying attention.
Yeah, that's fine. It's probably, again, like my wife said, that's probably better. You're probably better for it. If you're fully paying attention, you'll just be like, this guy's an idiot. But if you're half paying attention, every once in a while, you might just be like, no, that sounds all right.
Not an idiot, mad maybe.
Mad, yeah. Yeah.
I understand your monologue. I mean, I don't understand your actual what you're sometimes communicating, but I understand why you do it. I mean, you've said it time and time again. This is like my little, video diary, and
yeah,
you're working things out. It's kind of like what Paul says, and I'm like, I feel like I get that. I can understand that, and I can respect that. I'm not gonna, declare you, and give you a hard time about it. But she's obviously brass tacks, so whatever.
Yeah,
I like it. It's cool.
Let's see if One Boy's here and she has internet. Let's see if she can actually talk to us.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yay. Sorry, I had to walk home, so I probably missed a lot of the conversation. But I just did want to make the point that I think I'm endlessly kind of amused and confused by the Claire back and forth every time I go on, like I listen to one of your streams, because I do think that clearly there's something appealing about your way of communicating, even if it is appealing in almost a negative way. But I was just very annoyed by the claim that like Luke is trying to obfuscate or be unclear. Like, I really do think what you're doing is actually trying to communicate in a mode that is beyond linear conventional language. So the same thing as abstract expressionist painters are trying to do, or modernist poets are trying to do. And I think that you're doing that in the streaming version of that, which there's a reason why we value those forms of art. I don't think that there are people who try and be weird for the sake of being weird or special or whatever, but I also think there are people who are earnestly trying to communicate as clearly as possible, and that it just isn't possible sometimes using conventional means. So just wanted to make that point and say that I think that there is something kind of tragic about the lack of, there's something failing in like the education system, that we aren't exposed to these forms of communication. So when people are confronted by something that they just like do not understand in their brains, it's almost threatening. And I see it in the ways that people respond to you sometimes. Like it's too much, it's too vehemently opposed to, like either
it's like
don't
a terrifying beauty.
Yeah. And I think what art does, and especially that kind of art, is that it confronts us with the sublime, like with what is beyond our general understanding of the world and the material world. And the world is very threatened by what is beyond the material. So I think it's telling, actually, that there are such strong reactions to your weird attempts at communication. I think it speaks to actually the fact that you're doing something important that isn't being done enough. Yeah, that's it.
Wow. See, again, thank you. I think that was very helpful. That feels resonant with me. I also feel encouraged. If for nothing else, we should have just a recurrent stream just so I can feel better about myself. Because normally, I think that is, because I mean, people probably realize this too. Like, even when I play media assets, like, You've Always Been Right from the Sam thing or Matt or whatever, part of that is me coping because I don't, and I'll immediately just go into like the Womboy Luke mode. This is like our conversation where I am, I mean, a lot of any sort of, I have a certain kind of confidence that comes from an internal integrity that I kind of can't deny. This is what we were talking about. But simultaneously, I am kind of insecure and full of doubt. And so when people, and I'm a highly sensitive person. So like when people are mean to me, like it's really hard for me to take. And so I'll play clips of that, and it's somewhat comical and playful, but also like it's like I'm medicating to deal with it because it hurts.
Like fighting back. I think it kind of feels like war in my mind sometimes. Like there is so much opposition to the way that I am that I need to fight back in ways that sometimes feel a little bit too much or too insistent or something. But it is an equal reaction to the force that you're fighting against, which is actually a real thing. I think it's a real thing that to hold on to that thing that is insisting on that integrity and that truth, I think is an act of war in a real way. And so, yeah, that's how I feel about it anyway. And I know, like I think that we're very similar. We respond to the world in similar ways. We walk through the world in similar ways. So I also understand that when you say it's a cope or you say it's, yeah, in a way, but I think it's also a mode of fighting back against a kind of oppression that's real.
Yeah.
We don't need to fight. I'm not going to be able to explain this right now. I need to work out how to put it into words, but we don't need to fight. We, like in Tai Chi, you use your enemy's strength against them. So they go to hit you, you just move aside. You don't have to, it's not always necessary, it's rarely necessary. You can just move around.
Well, and that's part of what I think playfulness is me trying to do that. And I think what often happens with that is like, then I only get glancing blows. They don't like hit me at the heart, but it still hurts. Like I can tell, like, and this is what happened in the fucking Womboy conversation, is like the second, like you show up and then I immediately, because I know what we're so alike, and you say these things, all my negative framings, which is a cope of the own ways that I do things, and then you say in a positive light, and then I feel seen, and then I about start to cry. And that's not the mode I'm normally operating at in TLC, because I'm either doing the abstract thing, which is a fun hobby and it's playful and it's philosophy, and that's great, or I'm doing like the playful toying with the people that hate me. The things that have been most resonant for me is like in church recently, the things that have been sticking out to me in the liturgy are when we pray for those that love us and for those that hate us, and for blessed are you when men revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely for my name's sake. And I'm not saying that because I'm perfect, but damn it, I'm trying to be honest and vulnerable and real online. And when people just come at me for that, I'm just like, I don't know what the hell you want from me.
Wait, what? You're not perfect?
So
this is a little bit what I meant by fight. I don't think it needs to be this combative, necessarily negative. I think what I'm talking about is like an internal position of I'm standing here, like that Toni Morrison quote I talked about in our conversation about I stood on the margins and claimed them as center and let the rest of the world move over to where I was. Like, I think the way that I mean fight actually is I'm going to maintain my internal position. I'm standing here, I'm not moving. So move towards me, that however, whenever you want to, but it does feel like a bit of a fight to just maintain that posture.
It's the Jobian, like I'm not gonna lie, no matter how much you're telling me to lie, and I have to lie. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. That was good. Yeah, I haven't. Everything that you shared with me in email since our talk, one boy, has been fantastic.
I'm so glad you watched the movie.
Huh?
I'm so glad you watched My Dinner with Andre.
Oh, it's like it's one of those things. Sometimes I feel like I need to be around, or it's even like I watched. I don't know if people have seen this. I've been trying to share it with people, but what's his name?
This Dinner with Andre thing. Can you drop a link somewhere?
It's you can watch it on YouTube for free. It's a Dinner with Andre. It's like a
Dinner with Andre.
What? It's my. Oh
yeah.
My. Sorry, I said A.
But yeah, it's on.
Here, I'll put it in the link, or I'll put it in here. You can watch it. I think you can either buy it or you can watch it free with ads or something. Yeah, free with ads. But it's very good. So that's in the link. And then so at the SAG Lifetime Achievement Award was Harrison Ford, and it was so great. I've been trying to get people to watch it, so I'll just talk about it in here because he says in there, Woody Harrelson does it, and Woody is kind of, I like Woody, but he's also being silly a lot through it. But then when Harrison comes up and finally starts talking, like part of me wonders if he had it memorized. It's so good. I'm just like, I wonder if it was memorized, because I've never been, in a way, Harrison Ford is not like a he's not like a Daniel Day-Lewis actor. You can always kind of tell it's him, but he's compelling. He's like Kevin Costner or something, or Tom Cruise. Like they always are them. They don't like disappear in the thing, but they're compelling. And he's such an iconic actor. But he talks about how, because he didn't become an actor till pretty late in his life. I don't know if his first thing was Star Wars. Mitch, pocket film person, was his first thing Star Wars?
No, he did something with Lucas just before that and was brought onto Star Wars as a carpenter and ended up auditioning for Han. So it was very early.
See, look at this. He's just like he knows all these things. It's so great. But that's kind of what blew him up, I think. And then I didn't know in there, I found out that he apparently built his house because he had become a really good contractor through probably working on sets and stuff. But then he said there was at one point in his life when he said he was very lonely and didn't know what to do with his life. And then he discovered theater and actors. And he's like, these people that he thought were dorks his whole life. And he's like, all of a sudden I had a community of people. Like, I don't know. There's just something, I resonate with that, where like, I feel like I have to be, and it's not like small talk's fine. Again, like normies are fine, but there's something about TLC, being around creatives, whatever, where like, I don't, like probably for my own like mental health, like I just need to have a recurrent thing with Womboy where I can talk to you. So like, I don't feel crazy, like, I think it's just, I need it selfishly a little bit. Cause I don't get that very often. Like it's very rare for me. And it's probably cause I mask well, but like I rarely feel comfortable. Like I'm rarely relaxed. That's part of this, all the frenetic energy. is I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, and there's something, this was another thing I forgot to say. When people are critical about, you know, to me, what it sounds like is I don't understand what you're saying, so I'm going to criticize what you're saying instead of trying to like ask for clarification or stretch beyond myself to see if maybe this is just something I don't understand yet. But I just also think that there's something in speaking, like a baby giraffe learns to walk by trying to walk. Like it is also that we come to clarity and we learn what we're trying to say and what we mean by stumbling blindly towards something like meaning. So I do think that TLC provides that arena in many ways. Like it does allow people to say the thing out loud and come to a fuller understanding of what they're actually trying to say, and that ideally there would be like a lot of grace that we extend to each other in that attempt to. I think it's brave, and I think that's correct. That's what we should be trying to do, is make some semblance of sense, but not full sense, and then listen to each other properly and come to more sense together. So it just pisses me off a bit when people are like hypercritical about the ways that people are attempting to do that. I think it's a brave thing to do. So yeah.
Well, thank you. Could someone say something else? I don't feel comfortable ending on a compliment. So, Mitch, Brett, any last words? Anything? Mitch.
Oh, me? It did make me curious, but I don't think this has any conclusionary value. I wondered if you felt that you had been more reviled or more praised in doing these streams.
Well, I mean, part of that is personal salient stuff, you know, and I think this is common, but it's the criticism always stands out more than the praise. So if I had to put a balance on it, I don't know. And especially if I put a balance on the amount, it's kind of like the political spectrum when like the two extreme 10% of the ends make like 80% of the comments or something. So like it's that's also true. So like if I excluded the frequent commenters of the people who criticize the most, it's probably much more positive than anything else. And I mean, I receive positive emails and things and comments, and a lot of it's great. It's just a lot of this is my own, you know, you focus on the negative things. So I don't think it's more overwhelmingly negative than positive at all, but yeah.
And then especially too, probably there's critics, you know, that aren't, they don't harbor enmity towards you. They're just, expressing criticism, which I think is very good for you and for everybody listening to you.
100%. Like you and I are good friends, but like for a long time, I saw you mainly as like a critic, but like we've become much better friends through that. And I have a lot of positive critics, you know, Nick and Matt criticize me all the time. Phlebas. I mean, I have people that I know in here who I would say criticize a lot more than just congratulate or compliment or puff up or whatever. Like they're just more oriented toward pointing out criticisms, but it's always, but I would say most of the time it feels loving, you know, it's done very well versus the criticism where I don't think you like me. Like, I don't think we're friends. I don't think you really want my best. I think you just want to criticize. So
we're never given more than we need.
Yeah, which sometimes is a hard, and I agree. But that's one of those verses that, depending on my frame and where I'm standing, it can feel like that can feel like peace, or it can feel like, shut up, Bible. Like, I don't care. Like, this feels like way more than I can handle right now. Bible, thank you very much.
I will be honest though, when I did a talk or whatever, and the first person I ran to was, well, she's my real life version of Claire. I wanted to know what she thought because I knew she was going to be honest and genuine, and I was going to get the truth. All my friends are going to tell me I did great.
Yeah, and that's valuable sometimes, and you'll learn from that. Like, even if what the person is saying, like Claire, for example, I will say, like, her broad structural conceptual idea criticisms of what I'm doing, I think I understand and I just completely disagree with. But so that doesn't always mean that you'll like learn from them that way, but you may learn from them that way in like a how to relate to people way, how to love people even if you're not agreeing in the idea space or whatever. So yeah, I think it's all valuable. Okay, I'm gonna stop. This was great. Thank you everyone for coming. Womboy, we need to figure out a schedule because I want to do that. I want to have an ongoing thing with you and Matt. I think I've just decided right now. I just need to hem myself in. I'll just make that decision and move on, and then I don't have to think about other things. So we should figure that out and do it. And hopefully a movie thing sometime, Mitch. If we can figure out movie things. Mitch, this is one of those things. Mitch frees you up to do this kind of stuff where like, I'll end on this, where he said, this is one of those moments where like you sent me a message in Signal, which made me feel very good. And it was a freeing thing because I will reach out to him occasionally whenever a movie thing comes up and I'll be like, watch this movie, had these thoughts. But then sometimes I can feel bad that I'm just spamming you. And Mitch told me, he's just like, Luke, I give you just carte blanche. Anytime you say you have any thoughts about any movie, tell me. It's never enough. It's never too much. I always want to hear. I love movies that much. And I was just like, rock and roll. Let's do it. So thank you for that, Mitch. I appreciate that. All right, I'm gonna end. Let's do media asset. Which one are we gonna do here? Oh, let's do this one.
As I was walking down the street, a billboard caught my eye. The things that were upon it would make you laugh and cry. The board was torn and tattered from the storm the night before. The wind and rain had done its job, and this is what I saw. Chew chocolate-covered mothballs, they always satisfy. Drink Wrigley Spearmint root beer, it'll never leave you dry. Smoke Coca-Cola cigarettes or know the reason why. Brush your teeth with dial soap and watch the suds go by. As I recovered from my shock, I went upon my way. I hadn't gone but half a block, and what to my dismay, another billboard caught my eye, and like the one before, the wind and rain had done its job, and this is what I saw. Take your next vacation in a brand new Frigidaire. Learn to play piano in your winter underwear. Simonize your baby with a Hershey's candy bar. Texas Oil, the beauty soap, is used by all the stars. Now doctors say that babies shouldn't smoke until they're 3, and people over 35 should bathe in Lipton tea. And if you want the world to be a better place by far, buy a record of the song and smash it